I never imagined I'd look back on such a significant life decision and feel a pang of regret. Yet here I am. I'm sharing this story not just as a warning, but as a chance to shed light on what really happens inside some nursing homes when the glossy brochures and well-meaning promises wear off. If you're thinking about moving into a nursing home yourself, or you have a loved one considering it, I urge you to hear these 5 hard truths that I wish someone had told me sooner. By the end of this discussion, you may realize that transitioning to a nursing home is not only about finding care and comfort. It can also mean giving up more than you ever thought possible. Stay with me until the final paragraphs, because there's one particularly painful lesson near the end that still haunts me whenever I remember the day I first walked through those doors. I want to begin by saying that I'm not here to demonize every nursing home in existence. Some places truly care about the residents, offering clean spaces, supportive staff, and a sense of community that can be comforting. But there's a side to this world that no one talks about openly, or if they do, it's after the fact. In my case, I was led to believe that once I moved in, I'd have more free time, more relief from life's burdens, and a sense of security for whatever remained of my golden years. My family thought it was best. I thought it sounded practical, and it seemed like a decision that couldn't possibly go wrong. Yet, within the first few weeks, I felt a strange gnawing feeling in my stomach that told me I'd made a mistake. It wasn't one big event, but a series of small, subtle shifts in my daily life that eroded my sense of self and left me longing for a freedom I once took for granted. One of the first hard truths I realized, which I had no idea would hit me so strongly, was how lonely I would feel despite being surrounded by people. You might think a nursing home is a bustling community, and in some ways it is. You'll see residents in the hallways, staff in uniforms, visitors coming in on weekends. But this environment can be surprisingly isolating. At home, I could choose when to entertain visitors, when to enjoy my quiet time, and even when to venture out. In the nursing home, everything was scheduled. Meal times, recreation times, medication times, even family visit hours. There's nothing more jarring than looking around a common room full of people who barely acknowledge each other's presence. Everyone's in their own bubble, either dealing with physical limitations, cognitive issues, or just the heavy weight of feeling their independence slip away. The staff, often overworked, do their best, but they're on a tight schedule. There's a constant hum of activity without real connection. This manufactured environment can leave you feeling more alone than you would be if you actually lived by yourself. My loneliness didn't come from being physically isolated. It came from not having control over my social life. At home, a neighbor or friend might pop by, or I could spontaneously decide to visit someone else. In the nursing home, these spontaneous connections rarely happen. Instead, every interaction starts to feel forced or institutionalized. And I miss the authenticity of a natural conversation at my own front door or a friendly chat over a home-cooked meal. It didn't take long for me to realize that the promise of constant companionship is more myth than reality in many nursing homes. And that lonely feeling can sneak up on you when you least expect it. A second hard truth is how quickly you can lose your sense of purpose after moving in. Before, I had daily routines and small tasks that, while seemingly minor, gave me reasons to get up in the morning. I watered my plants, made coffee just the way I liked it, and even tended a little garden in my yard. I could decide to bake cookies for my grandchildren on a whim, or clean out a closet if I felt productive that day. These small freedoms added up to a feeling that my life was still mine to live. In the nursing home, many of these responsibilities vanished. Meals were prepared by a staff I barely knew. Housekeeping was done for me, sometimes at hours that made no sense. They'd come by to change my bed sheets when I was napping, or vacuum when I was trying to read. Suddenly I had an abundance of free time, but it wasn't the joyous kind. It was a hollow time, filling my days with waiting for the next meal, waiting for a staff member to help me with some minor task, waiting for my family to visit, waiting for bedtime to come, and then repeating it all over again. This lack of purpose can wear down even the most resilient individual. You start to question if you matter anymore, if anyone needs you, or if your life has become an afterthought. Some might enjoy complete leisure, but for me, a day without a task was a day without direction. It's one thing to willingly slow down and hand off certain chores due to aging, but it's another thing entirely to have that choice removed, replaced with a system that treats you more like a patient than a person. A third truth, one I never fully grasped until I experienced it, is how much you can lose control of your personal space and privacy. I used to cherish my home because it was filled with memories, photographs, and personal belongings arranged just the way I liked them. My bedroom held my favorite paintings, my living room had a well-worn recliner that seemed to know my shape by heart, and my kitchen cupboards were organized in a way that felt intuitive only to me. Once I moved to the nursing home, I was given a single, cramped room that I had to share, or that barely had enough space for a bed, a small closet, and a chair. Gone were the days of deciding how to decorate or whether I wanted to rearrange my furniture. And let's not forget the constant flow of staff members coming in and out for routine checks or cleaning. It's understandable, they have a job to do, but it's an unsettling feeling to lose the ability to say, "No, I'd like some privacy right now." Even if they knock, there's rarely enough time for you to grant or deny permission before they enter. Suddenly, something as simple as sitting quietly in your own room requires a mental adjustment. You start anticipating the knock on the door or the quick shuffle of feet in the hallway. It might seem like a minor inconvenience, but over time, the cumulative effect of having no real sanctuary can chip away at your mental well-being. You realize how valuable it was to close a door behind you at home and know that space was truly yours, free from intrusion. In a nursing home, that concept of ownership over your living space gets murky. It isn't your house, it's an institution's property that you temporarily occupy, on their terms, not yours. A fourth truth, which can be the most heartbreaking, is seeing how relationships change once you're in a nursing home. Initially, my family said they'd visit every weekend, that I'd have even more time to see them now that I wasn't bogged down by household tasks. And in the beginning, they did come regularly. But life got busy for them. My grandchildren had school events, my children had jobs that demanded more hours, and soon visits became phone calls, then text messages, then sporadic drop-ins. When you're at home, you can sometimes overlook these absences because you have your own routines, your own neighbors, and your own environment to keep you company. But in a nursing home, each missed visit feels magnified. You're acutely aware of the days slipping by because you measure them by the sound of footsteps coming down the hallway. You start to wonder if your friends and family assume you're well taken care of now, so there's no urgency to check in. Some might genuinely believe that since you're in a professional care setting, you don't need the same attention. The stark truth is that you probably need it more than ever, because you're craving a sense of normalcy and connection. It's also painful when you realize that living in a nursing home can unintentionally signal to others that you're no longer able to participate in the life you once shared with them. Invitations to family gatherings might dwindle. You may no longer be asked to babysit your grandchildren, or friends might stop suggesting outings because they assume you can't or don't want to leave the facility. This can create a suffocating sense of being put away, even if that's not anyone's conscious intention. If you've made it this far, please let me know by commenting "care" below. I am sharing these experiences in hopes that others can make a more informed decision. I used to think that living in a nursing home would be a practical and easy route, but the reality has taught me a fifth and final truth that often goes unspoken. You can lose your sense of autonomy faster than you ever imagined. When you first arrive, everything seems organized. Staff members greet you, you're shown the common areas, and there's a schedule for meals and activities. You might even feel relieved that someone else is handling the day-to-day logistics. But then come the small humiliations. You might have to ask for permission to take a walk outside if you need assistance. You learn that certain activities require advance notice or are restricted due to staffing issues. And if you're someone who enjoys cooking or preparing your own snacks, you quickly find that you can't do so in a place where food is handled in a centralized kitchen. Before you know it, you're waiting for someone to bring you things you used to simply fetch on your own. You start to doubt your capabilities because everyone is telling you it's safer or more convenient for them to handle certain tasks. Maybe you don't push back at first, thinking, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not as strong as I used to be. But that line of thought can be a slippery slope, one that leads you to relinquish freedoms you might still be able to manage. Over time, if you're not careful, you become a passive passenger in your own life, letting others make decisions on your behalf simply because it's easier to go with the flow than to insist on your own preferences. I understand that some people genuinely need the level of care a nursing home provides. Chronic medical conditions, extensive rehab, or advanced cognitive decline might make it necessary. But even then, it's crucial to go in with eyes wide open, to understand that you're entering an institution with its own set of rules, rhythms, and limitations. If you're on the fence, consider other options first, like in-home care, assisted living communities that still allow more independence, or exploring ways to adapt your current home with safety features. Once you're in a nursing home, reversing that decision can be far more complicated than you expect. The financial aspect alone can become a trap. As monthly fees and contractual obligations pile up, some people end up selling their homes or drastically downsizing before they move, which makes it even harder to return to a more independent living situation later. Looking back, I regret my decision because I didn't weigh these intangible losses of privacy, autonomy, purpose, and genuine connection as heavily as I weighed the practicality. It felt like the right choice at the time, but I underestimated how vital those small freedoms and personal touches are to one's overall happiness. I also wish I had recognized the emotional toll that institutional living can take. How it can make even the simplest pleasure, like spontaneously calling a friend to come over for coffee, feel impossible. Now, I'm sharing these reflections for anyone who might be at a crossroads. If you're listening and considering a move to a nursing home, ask yourself if you've fully explored every avenue, if you've talked to friends who've gone through it, and if you've visited multiple facilities at different times of the day. Pay close attention to how the residents look. Are they interacting, or do they seem subdued and isolated? Does the staff appear genuinely caring, or do they seem rushed and stressed? Notice the environment. Is it set up for real living, or does it feel more like a hospital? I also encourage you to think about whether the decision is yours, or if you're feeling pressured by well-intentioned family members who believe they know what's best for you. Sometimes, loved ones think a nursing home is the safest or easiest option, especially if they've been helping out and feel burnt out themselves. It's a delicate situation. They might genuinely need relief from caregiving responsibilities, but the trade-off for you can be steeper than they imagine. It's not that you should refuse help or be stubborn for the sake of pride, but you do have the right to keep your life as your own for as long as reasonably possible. If that means hiring part-time aides or accepting more community support in your home, it might be worth it to maintain the simple joys of deciding your daily schedule and preserving a safe, familiar environment. If you're already in a nursing home, please don't lose hope. There are ways to reclaim some independence and purpose. Advocate for yourself, whether it's asking for permission to have a small table in your room to do crafts, or requesting more flexible visitation hours so friends and family can come when it suits them. You can organize small group activities with other residents who share your interests, or decorate your space as best you can. Sometimes speaking with administration about your dissatisfaction can lead to small but meaningful changes, like adjusting meal times or coordinating special outings. On a more emotional level, find ways to keep in touch with the outside world. Phone calls, video chats, letter writing, anything that helps you maintain connections beyond the nursing home walls. Even if you feel you've lost a lot, you still have the right to shape what remains of your journey. I'm sharing these truths not to instill fear, but to shine a light on what brochures and polite conversations often overlook. Leaving one's home for a nursing facility can represent a profound shift in how you experience life day to day. And that shift isn't always positive. Knowing this ahead of time can help you plan more carefully, weigh the alternatives, and prepare mentally for the adjustments you'll have to make if you do move in. Too often I see people like myself realize these truths only after they've signed the papers and sold their house. If only I had known, I might have tried home modifications or embraced a more creative living arrangement with family or close friends. Hindsight is a powerful teacher, but it's often too late to change course without a lot of upheaval. As you reflect on my experience, consider what truly matters to you. Is it privacy, autonomy, feeling useful, maintaining cherished routines? Or do you crave round-the-clock medical care and a structured social environment, which some nursing homes can provide? There's no one-size-fits-all solution, but it's critical to evaluate your priorities honestly before you make a move that might be irreversible. My story is just one among countless others, but I hope it encourages you to look beyond the promises of easy living and to ask harder questions. Once you cross that threshold, it can become harder to keep your sense of independence intact, your relationships vibrant, and your spirit unbroken. Thank you for taking the time to hear what I wish I had known. If you found any part of this helpful, let me know in the comments by saying choice, because that's exactly what this boils down to, protecting your choices for as long as possible. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing or following for more discussions on how to navigate these later stages of life with openness and honesty. Sharing experiences, even the regretful ones, can be a service to others who might otherwise walk blindly into the same situation. Together, we can foster more awareness and push for better options, whether that's improving how nursing homes operate or exploring community-based care that respects the dignity and autonomy of our elders. Either way, your life is your own. Even in your later years, you have the power to shape your environment, your connections, and your sense of purpose. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, no matter how well-meaning they might be. I appreciate your time and willingness to listen. May your decisions be guided by knowledge, not just necessity, and may your golden years reflect the life you truly want to live.